Hey guys, I'd like to welcome you to our very first edition from the Card Ministry with Minister Terry. And today I'd like to talk to you about compassion for the poor, compassion for the needy, whether or not you should give to the poor, whether or not you should give to the needy. What I'd like to do, guys, is first go to the Bible, give you a few scriptures, and then give you a story about a man that I know who has done a few things for the poor. So I'd like to take you to the Bible, to Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 11. So I'm going to open my Bible and read right from it. This is from the New King James. Deuteronomy 15, verse 11 says, "For the poor will never cease from the land. Therefore I command you, saying, you shall open your hand wide to your brother, to your poor, and your needy in your land." Alright, this is from one of the very first 5 books from the Old Testament. This is God speaking to the Hebrews, and this is still relevant for us today. Now I'd like to take you to, in the New Testament, Galatians, starting in chapter 2, starting with verse 9. Galatians 2, starting at verse 9. It says, "And when James, Cephas, and John, who seemed to be pillars, perceived the grace that had been given to me, they gave me and Barnabas the right hand of fellowship, that we should go to the Gentiles and they to the circumcised. They desired only that we should remember the poor, the very thing which I also was eager to do." Now this was the Apostle Paul writing to the Galatians, and as a little backdrop of that, he went to Jerusalem to speak to the other apostles, and this was one of the things that Peter, also known as Cephas, gave Paul direction to, is that desired only that we should remember the poor, the very thing that Paul said he was eager to do. So they were in agreement. Paul and Peter were in agreement about make sure to remember the poor. Okay, now I'm going to go to Matthew chapter 11, starting at verse 5 and going to verse 6. Now this here in Matthew verse 11, starting at verse 5, and this is in my Bible, this is written in red. These are the words of Jesus, and there's a big star here, which means this is really important, something that Jesus said. It says, "The blind see and the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed and the deaf hear, the dead are raised up, and the poor have the gospel preached to them." Verse 6 says, "And blessed is he who is not offended because of me." So Jesus is saying that the poor, we should preach the gospel to the poor. It's talking about all these things that people are able to do. Lame are walking, lepers are being cleansed, all the miracles, and he remembers the poor. And he's saying, "Blessed is he who is not offended because of me." Guys, so let's just, for you guys to remember those 3 passages there in the Bible. Now, what I'd like to tell you is there's a story of a man that I know. I'm going to give you 2 different stories. This man that I know got an email, and the email was for someone who lived in an area far away, probably a good 3 or 4 hours drive in another state, and the man got this email from a person that was in a hotel room who was needing help. He said that the guy had a story that he hurt his arm. He was working construction, and he hurt his arm. He doesn't have health insurance, and because he was working construction on the side, he wasn't able to get any help from the guy who hired him. But he was staying in the hotel with his I think his girlfriend, maybe his wife, I'm not quite sure, but staying in this hotel, and he only had one more day left in the hotel. And he's looking for, didn't have any food. All his money was going to go to pay for the hotel room for that one more night. He's also trying to get money for more stay at the hotel, but he's supposed to be get kicked out the next day. So this very long, elaborate story. I think there's more to this story. This is just some of the parts I can remember. So the man said, you know what, I can't pay for your hotel room, but I would like to buy you dinner. Tell me where is there a restaurant nearby where I can buy you dinner? He said, oh, there's this Chinese restaurant. It gives you really big portions, and this is a Chinese restaurant that I like that's right next to us. Yeah, it'd be awesome if you can buy some Chinese food. So he asked the man asked, what's the phone number? What's the address? Okay. And so what's the address of your hotel room? Guy told him all this stuff, so it seemed like it was pretty legit. So the man decides, hey, I'm going to call the restaurant, and he says to him, well, what kind of food do you want? He goes, oh, man, just whatever you want to order, man. Order us anything. And so the man goes ahead and calls the restaurant, puts in an order, gives them the address. The guy says, yeah, I know the hotel. It's close by. We'll take care of it. And so the man decides to go pay with his credit card. Gives him the credit card, and the Chinese guy from the restaurant comes back and says, I'm sorry, your card doesn't go through. Really? Let's try the numbers again. Just make sure I got the right numbers. So he goes back, gives them the numbers. They try it again. Doesn't go through. So the guy, as I think the story went, the guy pulled out another credit card, says, let's try this other credit card. Puts the credit card through. It doesn't go through. Both credit cards get denied. And the man tells the story, this is so strange that I'm trying to help this guy out, and I want to help him. So he calls. He goes, okay, let me make another phone call. I'll call you guys back. So he calls the other guy in the hotel who's needing this food, and he sends him an email. The guy doesn't respond. He calls him. The guy doesn't respond. He goes, this is so weird that this guy's not responding. So the guy goes back and, as I think the story goes, that he calls back the Chinese restaurant one more time and says, listen, I just checked my bank. I got plenty of money in the bank. I don't understand why my card's not going through. Can we try it one more time? So they go try it one more time. It gets declined again. So the man who's trying to help this person out says, man, I really want to help these people. I can't do anything, and this is so weird to me. And then he says, you know, maybe I could pay for their hotel room. It's so weird that my card's not working at a Chinese restaurant. Maybe it's a Chinese restaurant. So he calls the hotel. He says, hey, are these, is these people staying in your hotel? And then the person says, oh, yeah, I can't give you out information about who stays in the hotel or not. But I'm not even sure if they're if they are even in this hotel anymore. And so the guy's like, this is such a weird thing. These people want me to help them out and buy them stuff, and I can't even get a hold of them. And now I have no idea if they're even in the hotel or not. So the man had compassion. He had compassion to help these people out. But for some reason, he wasn't able to. Well, the man tells me, there's another story about the same man. And the man, if you don't mind, you get a little glass of water, so I'm talking a lot. So anyway, the man goes, and here's another story about his compassion. He was in a local area, right actually in Gaithersburg, Maryland, in the parking lot, in this place that had a 7-Eleven. It also had a Starvin' Marvin's Pizza. He's in the parking lot, and he's sitting there in a car, and this guy comes up, and the guy's name's actually Jose. So Jose comes up and tells him this story about that he doesn't have any money. His son and wife are in the hotel room. His son has cancer. His son's 9 years old, and his wife is really worried about him. And the other day, while he was with his wife and son, this stranger comes up to his son and asks his son for money. And so Jose, being a father, protector, says, hey, why are you asking my son for money? He goes, hey, man, I just need $1 or two. I thought I'd ask him for money. He says, well, if you need $1, I can give it to you. But, don't be asking my son. So Jose goes out to give the guy $1, and as the story has been told, Jose sees another man kind of come out, and they kind of threaten him for more money. And so now Jose knows that what this really was some kind of setup. And so he wanted to say, he says to these guys, hey, can you guys leave my wife and son out of this? Can you let them go? We can just kind of figure this out. So what ends up happening is, as the story's been told, Jose had $300 in his wallet, and not only 1 or 2 guys come out, but like 4 or 5 guys come out, even with baseball bats, and they beat him and took his money. Now Jose is a day laborer, someone who works really hard. As he tells this other man, he says, I'm a day laborer. I don't live in this area. I can't get help because I don't live. My status isn't living in Maryland. I live in New Jersey. And so Jose says more stuff about this whole story, that he's also the hotel room doesn't have any money to pay for one more night. The next day, that he is actually going to be taking a Metro bus, or a Greyhound bus, back to New Jersey with his family. His mom is wiring him the money, but he has no more money for the hotel room. But he's trying to get enough money for one more night in the hotel room. So, this is kind of out in the parking lot, out in the blue, and the man's being kind of skeptical, but he still has compassion because he's skeptical because of the environment. He doesn't want to, so what's going to happen to this guy, right? So he says, you know what? The guy had compassion. He says, listen, let me see what I can do. So he says, Jose, he said, if you got your hotel room paid for, what would you do today? And Jose says, I know what I would like to do. I'd like to spend some time with my son because my back hurts. My body hurts from the pain, and I could try to be a day laborer, but I'm working with pain in my body because I got beat up the other day. I would have pain, and so I would love just to spend some time with my son because my son only sees me maybe an hour out of the day because I'm out doing day laboring, and I'm trying to get just enough to pay for hotel and food. And so the man says to Jose, goes, you know what, I'm going to figure out a way for this. Where's your hotel? Tells him where the hotel is. And so the man says to Jose, says, I will, let's go down to your hotel. So the man's still being a little skeptical. He wants to make sure that Jose is telling him the truth. Is there a hotel or not? And Jose says, okay. So they drive to the hotel. He goes to the front desk, talks to the lady, goes, is this man staying in the hotel? Yes. And does he need to pay for one more day? Yes. How much is it? So the man decides, hey, I'll go and pay this guy's hotel bill. And so Jose was so appreciative. He couldn't believe that someone was willing to help him so much. He gave him a ride to the hotel. He said, oh my gosh, this is so great. Thank you. God bless you, sir. God bless you, And Jose says, I would introduce my son and my wife to you, but they're probably sleeping right now because we thought we'd be kicked out by noon, and I wanted them to get as much sleep as possible just in case we had to live on the street for one night before we got this Greyhound bus. And so the man felt compassion on them and said, hey, go in there, go sleep, go see your children. The man says, here's my name and number, call me, I can pray. I'll pray for your son and your family. And the man goes about his way. So the man the next day was thinking, hey, I wonder if that whole story is true or not. I wonder if I was suckered, The man's thinking these things. The man's having thoughts now, right? So now he's thinking, did I do the right thing? I felt compassion on this guy, Jose, and I wanted to pay for his hotel room. So the man's thinking these things. These are good things to do. But now these other thoughts, these outside thoughts, are coming in to kind of cause confusion with this man. So what man's now thinking, man, because he's remembering the story of these other people who wanted his money to pay for their bill, and it was so fishy, right? So now he's thinking about the past, and he's thinking about this new situation where he's given money, and he's thinking, man, what is it? Did I just give my money away to someone, a stranger who just suckered me? So he's thinking about this, Jose, and as he's driving down the street, He's thinking about him, and next thing you know, he actually sees that guy, Jose.